Welcome back. You are watching Luck on Sunday. A week ago, I was privileged to hear the innermost thoughts, as were you, of Paddy Brennan. And what a fascinating character he is. Much of his assessment of his life and career was based around his relationship with one of my guests today, Fergal O'Brien, who's enjoying a landmark season from his new base. And I'm delighted to say we can spend a bit more time talking to Fergal about that. Now, I don't know how much you enjoyed Paddy last week, but he's a great character to talk to, and an intriguing one as well.
Yeah, look, I did enjoy watching Paddy, and I've always enjoyed listening to Paddy. You know, I'm very lucky that we've always had a great relationship. You know, we don't socialise that much together, but we've always had a great working relationship. You know, he explained how he ended up coming from Howard Johnson's to us. You know, it was a phone call through me, who I spoke to Nigel, and you know, and that's how he ended up coming down to us. And it just went from there. You know, we've always got on. I've always understood him, I suppose, is the long and the short of it. You know, we'd spent a lot of time in the car going racing with him, to saddle up and one thing and another. And so we've always had long talks, and well, I've always had long listens anyway. So,
well, listen, I don't want to make this all about him.
No, I know.
For the second consecutive week, and nor does he, I'm sure.
No, I know.
But this is what he said last week. So is it the quest to find the next cue card that's spurring you on, or is it the quest to help Fergal O'Brien become champion trainer that's spurring you on?
Probably help Fergal O'Brien become champion trainer.
Do you think that's realistic?
Absolutely.
Absolutely realistic that he could become champion trainer. Is that your overriding ambition?
No. I'm sorry if that sounds unambitious, but it's realistic. To be a champion trainer, you have to train at least 150 horses, 200 horses. That's never been an ambition. My ambition is to enjoy what we do, train as many winners as we can, and I get as much kick out of an 0 to 100 Ron Huntington today, if it runs well, as I will going to Cheltenham and having a winner at Cheltenham. It's about including people in what we do. We're a very open yard, and it's about giving people a good day out and enjoying it. This is a fantastic sport. I said to someone the other day, I always feel privileged to train racehorses, especially jump horses. And I love to get that across to other people who, you know, might not be able to afford a whole horse or half a horse. Or, you know, we've got a lot of syndicates who have got 9 or 10 or some with 20 people in it. And what we like is to make them inclusive in our success and some of our failures, you know. And, you know, to bring them along for the ride. And, you know, Chris Coley's been obviously my business partner and who helped get me going. And Chris Coley, that was his business, was hospitality. And we are, at the end of the day, it's a great sport. We are a leisure industry. And to get people involved and to include people and to get them to enjoy a day out racing or a day on the gallops. Actually, I get as much a kick from someone sending me a text saying, "Thanks for this morning, I had a great morning," you know. I went back to work and it felt great after spending a couple of hours with the horses, you know. I just love that. And we get that quite regularly, you know. So that's what my ambition is to train as many winners as we possibly can every season, to keep improving and to keep happy.
Tell me a little bit about your new facility.
So yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got a lovely owner, Jane Tufnell, who happened to be on holidays with Mr. and Mrs. Lowe, Rupert and Nicky Lowe, and Jane knew that we were looking for somewhere, that we'd been given notice from Naunton, and sort of being the clever lady she was, she picked a moment, knowing that Rupert Lowe's a businessman, and she pitched the idea. She obviously sold me very well, so she must have told a few porkies along the way somewhere, and she arranged a meeting between myself and Rupert and Nicky Lowe. And from the outset, they were just brilliant. You know, Rupert and Nicky, Nicky especially, he just really loved the idea of having the horses there. You know, they haven't owned race horses. Rupert's dad owns some flat horses. But, you know, Nicky rides, and daughter's done a bit of eventing and stuff. And when I turned up there, there was the barns were there, the buildings were there, and nothing else. And you know, I wouldn't claim to have the most vision in the world, but I just felt something there. And they drove me around, and we looked at a couple of different places where we could put some gallops in. And like Paddy explained last week, is that we took 4 horses over there, and we rode up 4 or 5 different options, and and one of the options where we put the gallop in now. So it all went from there, yeah.
Because when you were at Naunton, you'd been there for a long time anyway, when you were assistant to Nigel Twiston-Davies, and you had great years together, and then you went back and rented the yard just over the road, essentially, and used the same set of gallops.
Yeah, yeah, and it was, you know, we've put a similar gallop into to what's at Naunton, you know. So, but, you know, going back, you know, 4 years ago, it suited everyone. You know, the top yard was empty, so financially it suited Nigel and Kathy. I was, again, having to go out of where I was because the farm had been sold, and it just suited everyone, and it kick-started us again, you know.
How anxious did it make you that you had to leave? I mean, it must have been difficult for you when you first realised.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I knew I had another year's. I knew I was told in sort of May 18, I think it was, and you know, I knew I still had another. You know, I have till July 20 on my lease, but you know, at the same time, I was always conscious that Willie Twiston-Davies and Ryan Hatch wanted to have a business, start their business up, and you know, I didn't want to hold them back. We'd outgrown the yard anyway. You know, we had 54 boxes there, I think it was. Probably had 75, 80 horses on our books, so you know, it was always a constant juggle. But we were doing well there, so you know, we would have probably tipped along and kept juggling. But it was the kickstart that we needed, and it suited everyone. And you know, once we got going, and we started looking, and things came along. Yeah.
So now you must feel great.
Yeah, $1 million. Yeah, I do. I really do.
Like master of your own destiny a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. You know, we had probably 25, 30 people at the yard on Saturday morning. And, you know, it's our place. I'm not treading on eggshells. You know, don't have to worry where the cars are parked. And, you know, Kathy was an absolute fantastic landlady. But, you know, but it used to get very busy there, and I would always be worried that someone would block her in, or someone would block Sam in. He's trying to get out to go racing, you know. And it's just something that you don't need to be thinking about on a Saturday morning when you got your work mornings. And that's the other thing. We've been able to change our work mornings back to Tuesdays and Fridays. So Saturdays are a lot more relaxed for us. You know, you're not trying to have to work horses plus having 25 people there, which we encourage. We love people coming, you know.
And people still talk about you as up and coming and a new kid on the block. But you've been part of the furniture of British and Irish racing for, well, I mean, I don't want to make you feel old, but for quite a long time now, and you've got a lot of experience. Tell me where it all really began.
Alex Hammond came to the yard the other day, and she thought I'd been training 20 years. I've actually been training 8 years is what I've been training. So I'm not a new kid on the block, and you know, I've been nomadic a little bit. But the lovely thing about Ravenswell is, you know, I've got a 20-year lease. Which, you know, which could be extended as well if I live that long. But yeah, so I worked while I was at school in Irish, so very little to do with Irish racing at all. So I've been in England since I was 16, and I suppose the underlying fact is that I've been very lucky, very, very lucky, and you know, you can't underestimate what luck does for you in life. And I've been lucky that I've been in the right places at the right time and met the right people.
So what have been your successive breaks along the way? If you could break it down now and go, it was that, then that, then that, then that.
From the very start, I came over and I went to the racing school. I was meant to go back to a different yard from the racing school after my 9 weeks at the racing school. It was a small yard up in Cheshire. They couldn't take me, so Major Griffiths, who was in charge of the racing school at the time, he sent me to Tim Foster's. You know, absolutely fantastic ground. I met friends at Tim Foster's that, you know, I still have now, 30-odd years ago.
And this was in the Carl Llewellyn and Luke Harvey era?
Yeah, Hugh Davis even.
Hugh Davis,
yeah. Yeah, Hugh Davis actually got unseated off, nearly fell off, but he got unseated off Uncle Merlin, actually, when he would have won the National.
1990, yeah.
Mr. Frisk National, so yeah.
You're convinced Uncle Merlin would have won that Grand
yeah,
National?
without a doubt. It was good to firm ground. He was absolutely clipping along. He wouldn't have been caught for no one, you know. I think it was 5 out or something. So, yeah, I think he would have won, yeah. So from those times, you know, and then I was there for 3.5 years, and I took a job with a private trainer because I wanted to be a jockey and get rides, and that wasn't going to happen at the captain's. I went to the captain after being there 2 years and said, you know, I'd like to have a go at riding, and he was as nice as he could and said, you're a very good lad and you're a lovely lad, but I don't think you'll ever be a jockey.
What did you think?
I probably, in my heart to heart, I probably thought he was right, but I wanted to give it a go. So I got offered a job to go and work in a private yard.
Who was that?
A chap called Colin Cowley.
Yep.
I trained up near Mark Wheel, and he worked with my brother Brian. And I worked for Colin. Alan Davis was the man who I was working for, and his daughter Judy used to ride.
Yeah.
Boyd National. Yeah, so I was there for about 9 or 10 months, and then that sort of folded a little bit. And again, I was lucky enough that I bumped into Carl Llewellyn. He said, look, Nigel Twiston-Davies, I just started riding for him. He's getting going. They had about 35 horses, 40 horses that year. And then when I joined him in July, it sort of went up to Peter Scudamore retired, went up to about 85. So it was massive.
Perfect timing.
Just timing, you know. And, you know, there was plenty of lads there, but I was out of school and things like that. But I never wanted to, you know, I never really wanted to ride. I had a go at riding. I had a couple of rides under rules, and just loved the sort of training side. And I was there a season, and Nigel put me in an overflow yard down the road at Mrs. Mole's, and looked after 5 or 6 horses there, and all the rough horses that were having a break or injured or whatever. So I just went from there, and then the head girl left, so got promoted to be head lad. Chris Maud came along, so the two of us did it together. And we just had a lot of fun. When Chris Maud was there, we just had an awful lot of fun. And we had some great years, you know, it was just fantastic times. You know, young Hustler was there, and Captain Dibble, and we just had great times. And Chris went off, and he was first jockey at Pipes, and then took over the Balloon business. And, you know, I was still there, and I was Nigel assistant, and Nigel and Scu split up, and you know, so there was all that side of it. And we was there for some not so great times as well. So that you learn as much in those times as you do in any other time. And then Paddy came, and we had great times again. And then Carl Llewellyn came back, and it was you know, I was instrumental in Carl coming back. He was training for Malcolm, Denmark, and I met him one day at the races, and he said I wasn't going well. And I came back, and I said to Nigel, it's not going well for Carl. And I said, I think you know, Carl's a great people person. I think he'd be great for us, you know, if we got him back in.
Good front man.
Yeah, good front man. He'd be great going racing and all the rest of it. And he was, and he is. And you know, that's what he's good at. But when he came back, the dynamics all changed a little bit. So it was just Nigel and I, and the jockeys would come in, and the dynamics changed. And Sam started riding a bit more. Paddy was getting shoved a bit left, and I was moaning about it a bit probably. And it was probably time for me to move on. You know, things weren't happening, so it was either put up or shut up. So Chris Coley said, "Look, if you want to go out on your own, I'll back you." Timmy Murphy just bought a farm at the time, with his father-in-law, and that's where I set it up. And that's so, like I said, it's all about timing, you know.
And you talk about some of the characters that you've been involved with all that time. I mean, Nigel Twiston-Davies is an intriguing human being, for sure, and has become immensely successful. Peter Scudamore, who'd been a guest on this show, amazing success story, very intense. Paddy Brennan, we've talked about a lot. It's a very interesting cast of characters. So to dance your way around that for 15, 20 years takes a bit of diplomacy, something you're probably putting into practice now.
Well, yeah, and I think I'm a teetotaler, so I think I've always been their drivers. So I've always got their true side when I'm picking them up from a pub drunk or from somewhere they shouldn't be drunk, one or the other, you know. So I could tell a few stories, but I won't. But yeah, so you know, great characters. Look,
we've got plenty of time.
I've been very, like I said, you can't underestimate luck, and I know, you know, I've always worked hard. I've always had a very good work ethic. And that's always, you know, that was ingrained in me. So I've always worked hard. So, but you do need a lot of luck. And you know, Chris and Jeff Keys would be another man who'd be, you know, instrumental in what I do. You know, from a business point of view. You know, I left school at 16. What do I know about VAT and things like that when I started training? You know, but Jeff was very good and guided myself and Chris really. You know, and so again, lucky to meet people like that, and I've always had their support. You know.
You say you're a teetotaler. Has that always been the case?
Yeah, it's always been. And because you're Irish, people think I was an alcoholic or something. But no, all my family drink, and I think that's probably why I don't drink. You know, I've seen plenty of it, and I've just never enjoyed it really. I've never found anything. You know, some of the lads go to the pub in the summer, they'll have a pint of lager, and it'll be the best thing in the world. I just never found that drink that I really enjoy drinking. So I just don't drink.
Is there an element of self-control about it? You don't want to lose your control? Yeah,
or an element of being in control, yeah. And that's always been my way, probably a little bit, you know. When Sally and I aren't quite seeing eye to eye, I always get the control one back at me. So it's probably where it comes from, yeah.
Sally, of course, is Sally Randall,
yeah.
Your other half.
Yeah, partner.
And how important has she been in your life and the development of this stage of your career?
Huge. You know, she's gone off working today. She trains a few pointers herself, so she's off at Foss Lass today. She has a huge work ethic as well. She just, doesn't stop. Sometimes it can be absolutely frustrating because you just want to switch off and just not talk about horses. And Sally buys all the pointers. It's, I got a bollocking yesterday because we went to the Doyles when we were over Punchestown last year with Ballyholme, and we went down to the Doyles to look at some horses, and there was a horse that she really liked, and I just didn't like it. It didn't move well, and it had sarcoids, and I didn't like it. And then she said, "Oh," I said, "No, it wasn't. It was a reasonable price money for a Doyle horse, And we left it there behind us, and it was Chris Gordon's horse that beat us in the big handicap yesterday. So had a bit of that last night. But she's very good, and we get on very well. Like go back to Silver Hallmark. I was very lucky that when Alvarado retired, the rooker said, "Look, you find one, and we'll help you. We'll do our best to get you one." Silver Hallmark was the one that we really liked, that Sally really liked when we went to the sales, and they agreed with us, and we bought him. Poetic Rhythm. We paid 35 grand for him.
How did you meet?
Quite weirdly, Sally rode for me at in the Grand Military. Sorry, the Royal Artillery. She rode Bradley for an owner of mine, Jim Collett. And Jim insisted. I hadn't met Sally. I'd seen her around Point of Pointing, but I didn't know Sally. And she came and she rode. She rode out one morning. I wasn't going through a great time at the time. My marriage had just broken up, and horses weren't running great, and owners were going different directions. What happens in life? And Sally came and rode out. Didn't see much of her. She rode Bradley on the day he won. I said, "Are you going back to the palace to see the Queen?" She goes, "No, I can't. I'm doing one thing or another." Then didn't see her again for probably 2.5 years, and I just bumped into her at Doncaster one day. She was rushing in and rushing out like Sally does. Said hello very quickly, had a very quick chat, and then she was going off to Perth. I came home. I just moved back to Nigel's to Naunton at the time, and came home. Didn't know her situation. She could have been married, could have 4 kids for all I knew. I wasn't on Facebook, didn't do any of that sort of side of it, so didn't know how to look. So I thought, I'll just send her a message. I wrote a message about 4 times, "If you fancy a drink," deleted it, wrote it again. Anyway, I sent it, and surprisingly enough, she must have been drunk in Perth or something, but she agreed to go for a drink when she came back from Perth, and that was 4.5 years ago, so the rest is history.
It's a great story.
Thanks.
It's a great story. So we still remember her as Lance Bombardier, Sally Randall, rider of Oakfield Legend. Yeah,
Oakfield Legend, and Bradley, and then she won on Loose Chips, and then we managed to drag her out of retirement. She said to me one day, I'm gone blank now, the John and Val King's horse that she won the hurdle on for us a couple of years ago. She said to me one day, "I'd love to ride him I'd come back out to ride him in the military hurdle over 2 miles." And I said, we got better horses that you can ride. Ratify, yeah.
The old horse.
Yeah, the old horse. I said, "We got better horses." I said, "He's 14 years of age. He's never won a hurdle race, and he's never won over 2 miles. She goes, "No, he'd be the only one I would ride." And I'm not just saying, I'm a little bit biased, obviously, but I'm not just saying it, but the best horse on the day didn't win. The best rider won that day because one of the other jockeys kicked on down the back. She led for most of the way. She let him go by, very soft ground. He kicked on down the back, and she waited and waited till they got to the second last and then won. And that was a fantastic day. That was a crowning day for Val and John King as well. For a 14-year-old to win his first race over hurdles, over 2 miles was brilliant, yeah.
And now there are O'Brien Juniors about to frighten the life out of you.
Yeah, no, they don't. I get very excited. I love going. Fern is my eldest daughter. Daisy doesn't ride, but Daisy's brilliant. Loves coming racing. Talks more than I do.
And they're always racing with you. I have been now. I mean, for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, they have. They've always loved coming racing. I've been very lucky, and I've had that relationship with their mum. And there's never been any hassle between us. And I have them every Wednesday and every other weekend. And it's always been about the kids and what's best for them, And Fern has really got into the racing side of it, and had a few ponies to start with. Daisy had ponies to ride with, and didn't go well for her, and she doesn't like the cold and doesn't like the rain, so that didn't happen. So for Fern,
she's a girl after my own heart.
She is. She'd love it here in a nice warm studio.
Rider,
but Fern's loved it, and it's been lovely for me to watch her come through, and she rides work very well, and again I'm a little bit biased, but she schools very well. She schools the horse over hurdles, and she does all that very well, and very lucky that Sally found her a very good racing pony as well. She had a winner at Ascot and a winner at Huntington, and she she just loves racing, loves the horses.
You must give it the celebration of all celebrations when you see her winning a...
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I'd imagine it puts whatever you do at Cheltenham into the shade.
No, it doesn't, because what you see, it doesn't matter. That's what people don't understand. It doesn't matter to me whether it's Huntington, like I say today, or whether it's Cheltenham. That high will still be. There's only a maximum high. That high will still be the same, you know. And sometimes, okay, it might be a little bit more if it's an owner or a homebred or something like that, you know. But yeah, no, to see Fern win at Ascot and giving it an absolute peach of a ride was very exciting. But yeah, no, I really enjoy watching it. I don't get nervous. I look forward to it. I feel that, you know, I'd be definitely a glass half full person, and I just always look at the positives. And if things go wrong, they'll go wrong. She'll have her falls, she'll have her spills, and we'll just dust ourselves off and go again. And
just in terms of being a glass half full person, that must make it much easier when you're trying to communicate in the way that you have chosen to communicate, i.e. you do an awful lot on social media, you're out there, you're very much selling the product all the time. It must make it a lot easier if you are by nature an optimist.
Again, you know, I'll go back to talking about luck, because out of sheer luck, I met a chap called Dr. Simon Gilson, who's now in shares with me, and the doc, who's got a very good medical practice of his own in Cheltenham, around the Cotswolds, does all our social media. So we're the same age. He drinks my share of cider that I don't drink, and he just loves racing. He's got a huge passion. When he qualified as a doctor, he moved to Cheltenham because he wanted to be near the racecourse. He just gets racing. He gets me, and yeah, it just works so well. And you know, he's at the yard, you know, 2 or 3 mornings, because we start early. He's there 2 or 3 mornings a week. Takes all those lovely pictures, and he puts out there. Yesterday, he put out there, you know, whether I should wear a cardigan or not today, and we had 600 tweets about it. You know, people replied. So, you know, Cheltenham was on the Friday when it was cancelled. He decided we'd do a pub crawl. He had 25 or 30 random people met him in the first pub, and they just went and did 6 pubs.
So he's got an insane energy.
Huge energy, and he loves racing, and that comes across, you know. So yeah, so social media is all down to him. And like I say, so I've been very lucky to meet the right people.
And he is the man who got the Mayor Wizard sleeve passed by the BHA naming committee.
He was indeed. He won't take any credit for it, because he keeps trying to blame me for it. But we did get an official letter from the BHA in my name, which told us that they were going to look at further horses being named, which I thought was a little bit harsh, but there you go.
She has the name forever now.
She has, and she's in foal actually she's in foal to Passing Glance, so he's got some cracking names for that one.
Any suggestions? Just tweet us.
Tweet us, yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I know you're going to stay with us until the end of the show.
Thank you very much, yeah.
But thank you.